Hey everybody, my name is Denise Goga. I'm a real estate agent with Keller Williams in Washington Township. I service all of South Jersey, and tonight I have Tom Bickett with me.
Hi everyone, how are you? Tom Bickett with AnnieMac Home Mortgage, and excited to be here with you, Denise.
I'm excited too. This market is really challenging. We're seeing that there's a necessity for people to sell their homes, and there are limited solutions. So today what we're going to do is we're going to go over one of those solutions for you, and Tom is kind of going to explain some products that he has that he provides to his home buyers and sellers. So today we're going to go over Cash2Keys. You want to give us like a quick rundown of what it is?
Absolutely. So Cash2Keys is a platform we developed 2 years ago to solve for some very unique problems that we haven't seen in this market almost ever. Right, so we're dealing with super limited inventory.
Right.
We're dealing with incredibly high buyer demand, and we're dealing with 25-year highs in interest rates.
Right.
So the market is tight. And if there is somebody that's willing to step out there and purchase a home, it's extremely competitive to get your offer to stand out in a crowded space.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of people that would like to sell, but they're contingent on making that home sale to purchase the next home.
Exactly.
Yep. So a contingency means I have a home, I'd like to buy a new home, but I can't buy that new home without having my house sold. So if you show up with a contingent offer based on a home sale, that's really tough.
Right.
Really tough. And it may cause that consumer to overpay for a property more so than somebody who's coming in, let's say, with a cash offer.
Right. It's already challenging as it is.
Correct. So what Cash2Keys does, there's 2 different platforms designed to help 2 different groups of people. Right. The first one, which we probably have done more of this than the other one, and it solves for home sale contingencies, is something that we call buy now, sell later.
Okay.
So that is for that person that needs to sell their house. Okay?
Right.
And we're going to do a 2-step approval process for them and ask ourselves 2 questions.
Okay.
Question number 1 is, if they sold their home, would we give them a mortgage? So we're going to do a full underwrite, credit, income, assets, and really understand their borrowing profile. Okay. And if we're like, of course, we'd love to get this person a mortgage once their house sells, great, check 1. The second thing we're going to do is evaluate their existing house. We want to know that, is it sellable? Is it an area that we think is going to be easy to sell? Okay. And work up a number called a net proceed calculation.
So it's almost like an appraisal?
It's like an appraisal.
Okay.
So what we do is we ask the customer to do some secure photos of their home. Mm-hmm. They upload them into a secure portal. Our appraisal team will review that, and they do what's called an AVM. That's an automated value model. That's a computer algorithm that's going to look at that home address and make a decision on what they think that house is worth.
Okay.
So now we're armed with the fact that we know they can get a mortgage. We know how much money they're going to get when they sell their house. We're going to lock arms with that client and go to market and become a cash buyer on their behalf.
Wow. Okay.
So AnnieMac Cash2Keys will go to market. You would represent us as the agent, and we're doing that on behalf of that contingent home seller. So we go to contract, it's cash. Cash2Keys is going to buy that home for that seller, now buyer.
So just to be clear, when these buyers are submitting offers, they found their dream home and they're ready to go, they are sending a proposal to purchase as cash.
Correct.
Wow.
Correct.
Okay.
Cash2Keys, our private equity firm here at AnnieMac, is the buyer of that home.
Okay.
Okay.
So AnnieMac is the buyer.
Yep.
Okay.
Now the cool thing is we give that end buyer 2 paths to closing. Right. Path number 1 is great news. You're under contract. It's cash. We're going to close in, let's say, 30 days.
Okay.
And you hurry up and get their house listed to where they can put their home on the market and get it sold. And they can marry up those 2 transactions. So they could sell in the morning and buy in the afternoon, traditional.
Okay, in the same day.
Same day.
Okay.
We will actually assign the contract to them, and Cash2Keys will never take ownership. You'll sell, you'll close with a mortgage. Everything's going to work 100% the same.
So is it almost like is it like 3 transactions at once, or you're just bypassing the one you don't need anymore?
Yeah. So what happens is Cash2Keys will assign the contract to the buyer. So it's going to be, they sell in the morning, and then they're going to have a contract buying directly from that seller.
Okay.
All we did in that situation is guarantee the sale. Right? Cash2Keys is saying, hey, we're going to buy this home, but great news, our backup buyer, our client, was able to get everything done, and they're going to close and buy directly from the seller.
I mean, that sounds pretty easy, but you're saying there's also a second path?
Yeah, the reason why we like that path, for those people who can make all that happen in the same time fashion, is that program is 100% free.
Oh, okay.
So there's no added cost to use Cash2Keys if you can close going down path 1.
Okay.
Now, path 2 is Cash2Keys actually buys the home. So day of settlement comes around, and we buy the home.
Mm-hmm.
That buyer is free to move into that home and act as though it's their own.
Okay.
Right. So they have their home that's maybe listed for sale. Maybe they haven't listed for sale. They didn't want to put it up on the market until this deal actually closed. We've seen it happen every possible way you can imagine. But they're free to move into that home. They technically become our tenant. And then however much time it takes for them to sell their existing house, we give them 6 months to do that.
You give them 6 months to sell their home while they're living in their new home.
To sell their existing house after we've bought the new house.
Wow, that sounds great.
So it gives them a lot of flexibility.
Okay.
Okay. You sell their house. There'll be a third settlement where we resell them the home at the same price that we paid.
Okay, that makes sense now.
Yeah,
okay.
So we buy, they move in, you sell, get top dollar, and then that very same day, we'll have a settlement where they rebuy from us.
Wow, okay.
So Path 2 does have some costs, okay?
Okay.
If Cash2Keys actually buys the home, they're going to retain a 1% fee to make that all happen.
Okay.
I said they're technically a tenant, right? So they pay a prorated daily rent for the amount of time they're in the home before they buy it back from us.
Okay. All right. That makes sense because sometimes I present this to my sellers and they're always like, what's the catch?
Yep.
And obviously with convenience, there comes a cost, but that doesn't seem so bad. It seems reasonable.
Yeah. And the cool thing is we're not going to collect out of pocket. It's not like they're going to continue to pay their mortgage and tax insurance on their existing house and have to pay some second monthly payment on a mortgage or a rent.
Okay.
It's simply a daily accrual for the time that their house, because we're still paying the taxes on that house. We're still covering insurance on the house. So there's ongoing costs for us while they're living in the home. But they're simply going to accrue that rent. And whenever they buy the house back, they'll just pay it all at once out of their net proceeds.
Well, that makes sense to me.
Yeah.
All right.
And the last thing they're going to do is they're going to pay some transfer tax. Right?
Okay.
So in New Jersey, if you haven't sold a home before, there's always transfer tax. And customarily in New Jersey, the seller pays that tax.
Mm-hmm.
So when Cash2Keys buys the home, the seller to Cash2Keys pays their transfer tax. When we turn around and resell the property, we're not going to pay the transfer tax.
Okay.
So it's going to be very transparent up front that buyer wouldn't end up paying the transfer tax. So there are some costs involved. And I've had a lot of customers say that seems expensive. I've had some people say that seems reasonable. But the reality is we don't want to forget what we're doing. Right? We are removing home sale contingencies and going to market as a cash buyer.
Right.
That's powerful.
That makes a huge difference. I, as a realtor, know how challenging it is to get my buyers under contract. And that just removes two big factors why some offers get denied. So that's great. Yeah.
So if someone wants to compete with a contingency, it may force them to do something that isn't the most financially wise thing to do, which is overpay more than what somebody else would pay with cash, right? So if someone's coming in with a cash offer and someone's coming in with a contingent offer, if that contingent offer wants to be taken seriously, most chances say that they're going to have to pay a lot more than that person paying cash.
Right.
Because we're cash, we can close fast. There's no contingencies.
Right, because that's pretty much the only way you can get more desirable than a cash offer is if you can increase yours. Okay.
Correct. So when you compare the cost of utilizing Cash2Keys, if we actually buy the home, because remember there is a free option, you compare that to what someone would pay with a contingency, it's drastically different.
Okay.
Drastically different. I actually did a research year to date in Gloucester County, and people who closed with a financed deal, meaning they took conventional, FHA, whatever the case may be, they paid on average 3% more than list price.
Wow. Okay.
Cash buyers on average paid 1% more.
Yeah. And that makes sense.
Proof is that if you're coming in with cash, you're going to get a better deal than someone coming in with finance.
Right. Right.
And that's the power of the program. Yeah. And not only that, but it allows you to separate the outcomes, right? So you can go to market as a cash buyer with no restrictions.
Right.
But how powerful is it when you're trying to sell your home to not worry about which deal is going to get you out of your house? Which deal is going to get you out of your contingency?
Right.
You're going to be able to negotiate best terms on both sides. So you're going to be able to make yourself a better overall financial structure by competing with cash and selling for absolute top dollar.
Right. There you go.
Super powerful.
Solves a lot of problems.
100%. Some people like the fact that they don't have to do it all the same day. This year I had a couple clients who unfortunately were widows. Their spouses passed last year.
Okay.
They were in their home for 30 years, 4-bedroom homes where they raised their kids. It was too much house.
Okay.
But it also comes with 30 years of stuff.
Yeah, it does. That's a lot to move out.
Right? So in a traditional sense, they would have had to sell that house in the morning and move it all into a 2-bedroom condo.
Right. Yeah.
So we actually bought the homes. both of them actually bought two bedroom condos, and it get 30 days to transition to that home till when they actually sold their original homes.
Wow.
So
they had a whole month to move
for them, and they loved it.
Okay.
They're like, that makes all the sense in the world, right? So the cool thing is, we don't want to see anybody pay any more money than they have to.
Okay.
However, if the option allows you flexibility, if it allows you purchasing power, and it makes you more competitive, we know that it works. And in the 2 years we're doing it here locally, we've closed over 100 of these deals. Nationally, we've closed over 600. So it's working.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
that's great.
It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, and that makes sense. You know, some people, if you really think about your situation, how would it feel to move in one day? You might have small kids, you might have family members living at home with you, elderly parents. So it just makes things a little bit easier if you can separate the two, like give yourself a month or two, or up to 6.
Yeah, we allow them to do some minor upgrades, like no crazy renovations, but fresh paint, some flooring, right? So we give them that flexibility as they're moving in to be able to do some stuff.
Yeah, that's awesome. Right.
So that's buy now, sell later.
Okay.
And it really gives a lot of flexibility to when you list the home. You can have it already listed. You can already be under contract.
Okay.
You can go under contract when we go under contract, or list when we go under. Like, so the timing of this really is between you and the person that needs to sell their house, so you can do your best professional job as a listing agent.
Right.
And it really separates the two outcomes. It's awesome.
I really like that you can tailor the experience depending on your personal situation. Not everyone is different. So I really love that part about it.
Yeah, absolutely. The other program that we have to offer is something we just call cash offer. Right? So this is for somebody that doesn't have to sell a home. So
you mean if they're renting or living at home with their parents?
They could be living at home with their parents. They could be renting. They could be a first-time home buyer.
Okay.
They could be buying a second home down the shore. They could already own a home, but maybe they don't need to sell. Maybe they're not contingent on making that sell happen. Maybe they want to turn it into an investment property.
Right.
So cash offer is designed for anybody that doesn't have a home to sell or need to sell.
Okay.
And the way that works, we go through the same approval process. We're going to do a complete underwrite of their credit, income, and assets, and really understand their borrowing power, and ask ourselves the question, if they went under contract, would we close them on a mortgage?
Okay.
Right. So we know that they're going to be able to close in the homes that they're taking a look at. We're going to let them go to market. Now, this time, they're going to go on the contract.
Okay.
Once
they find a home?
You make an offer, they're approved, Cash2Keys, you're going to make a cash offer.
Okay.
So that offer is going to come over with no mortgage contingency, no finance contingency, no commitment dates needed.
Oh, wow.
It is a cash offer.
Okay.
They go on the contract. And there's a guarantee that comes with that contract that says if they can't close for whatever reason, Cash2Keys will step in and complete that purchase.
Oh, wow. Okay.
We just had this happen today. So we had somebody that was under contract. They're buying down in Florida, and they were under contract, and they lost their job.
Wow.
This week. What would happen in a normal transaction?
You would have to cancel the contract.
Everything gets canceled.
Yeah.
Right? Sellers upset, buyers upset, agents, everyone's upset, right?
And if they had a home to buy, it's like a domino effect.
The domino effect that gets kicked off. Cash2Keys is stepping in and purchasing the property.
Wow. Okay.
Yep. And then it will kind of revert back to almost like our buy now, sell later. Will they'll become a tenant?
Okay.
And
maybe give them some time to find a job again if that were the situation.
That's the goal. We're going to give them a 6-month lease, even though they don't have a home to sell. We're going to give them time to be able to make this all happen. If they can't, right, then we're going to have to make a business decision, and unfortunately may have to sell that property. But again, the goal here is to uphold the integrity of the market.
Okay.
Right? If we say we're going to do something with cash and step in if our customer can't purchase, and we said, you know what, we don't really want to do that anymore, we lose all sense of integrity. Right. And that means you can't operate with good faith. And we stand behind this 100%. So that's one example where that happens. That stuff really does happen in this market. People have spent their money. Maybe their interest rate moved against them. Maybe they got cold feet.
Which happens a lot. The interest rates creep up every day.
It seems that way. Maybe they got cold feet. Maybe they went on a gambling spree. Maybe they decided to buy a new car. I mean, there's 1,000 things. I've been doing this over 18 years.
Yeah.
There's 1,000 things you see that cause a deal to fall apart.
Right.
This protects that transaction. We still allow everybody to do home inspections if that's what they want to negotiate. We're not going to dictate that to them.
Okay.
The only time we ever need to have an inspection is if there is septic involved. We want to know that it's a good working septic. We don't want to potentially buy a property that has a bad septic.
Right.
But We have a customer closing tomorrow. She's a first-time home buyer. She was working with another lender, great lender. Unfortunately, she was a first-time home buyer, putting limited payment down. She made 7 offers with no success.
Okay. Oh, wow.
Her agent learned about Cash2Keys, wanted to give it a try.
Mm-hmm.
Her second offer got accepted using Cash2Keys.
Wow. What a difference from
Yeah.
7 to 2.
Yeah. And she's participating in a new program for first-time home buyers called Borrow Smart Access, where they're getting a $3,000 credit to help offset their down payment. And that's coming directly from Freddie Mac.
Wow.
Which is awesome.
That $3,000 credit makes a difference. If you want to do a few upgrades, like you said, floors, paint, it can go towards that, or it can stay in your pocket. Okay.
Yeah. She used it to give herself a little bit better interest rate. She brought her interest rate down because she wanted to save a little bit more money.
That's
so
a
for
good
her,
idea.
it was found money she wasn't expecting to get. We
Yep.
surprised her with it. Like, congratulations, you qualify for this.
Yeah.
And it's new. Freddie Mac's testing it in certain marketplaces where they feel first-time home buyers are disenfranchised.
Okay.
And the cool thing is that it is available in South Jersey, in the 4 counties local to Philadelphia. So it's Burlington, Camden, Gloucester, and I believe Salem,
Okay.
where this $3,000 is available.
Okay. Wow. Nice. That's amazing.
Yeah. It's working great.
Yeah.
Right. I can sit here and probably rattle off success story after success story after success story.
Right.
But it's something that people have to find out for themselves.
Okay.
The cool thing is the approval process is free. Right. We do a full consultation. We want our clients to truly understand the benefits,
Okay.
but also the cost. Right.
Right.
If Cash2Keys buys the home, there are some costs.
Okay.
Right. We're not the type of people that are going to not tell somebody about something and then hit it with them when it's too late. Like, oh, great, you
Right.
found your house. It's going to cost you
Right.
X. Right.
Right.
But most of the money's coming out of the net proceeds of their sale. Right.
Okay.
And most people right now have a ton of equity built up in their homes. You know, the market's never been higher. So they're able to take some of these newfound proceeds and roll it into this transaction.
Okay.
We talk a lot about what we call the first-time home seller. There's a lot of people out there who bought a home between 2016 and 2022. Maybe they were FHA buyers back then. They put a limited amount of money down.
Okay.
It was tough for them. It was first time. Maybe their family's grown. Maybe they've had some income increases. I can tell you one thing, they got a ton of money in their house. They are equity rich.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So the question becomes, what can you do with that equity, right? Can you take it and put it into an investment property, go buy yourself a better home? Could you convert this home into an investment property? So, having a conversation about what you can do with your equity, I think is really important.
Okay.
And the only way to really unlock that successfully is to use a program like Cash2Keys, right? Because most people are stressed out about, oh my God, what am I going to do? Am I going to go do a rent back? Am I going to move in with mom and dad? Do I have to put everything into storage for a couple months? Do I wait for interest rates to calm down? What do I do?
Right.
And I think people are kind of confused right now, just given the nature of the market. And this adds a lot of clarity.
Yeah, I agree. There are the traditional methods that we can use to get you into your next home, but with these solutions, it just lets you sit back, take a look at what you need, what your family needs, what your situation is, and then see if you can use those options.
100%. Yeah. We had a case last summer. Someone was migrating over from Philadelphia and found a beautiful home over here in New Jersey. He was contingent on selling his house in Philly. We were under contract. We had to do a credit check on him, like an update, because every once in a while you got to redo credit depending on how long it's been around. And this gentleman unfortunately missed a payment on a credit card.
Oh, no.
It was like a $25 payment,
Oh.
but it was enough to change his credit profile to the point where he no longer qualified.
Wow. From missing one $25 payment.
Yep. Cash2Keys bought the house.
Okay.
Allowed his family to move into that house.
Kind of came in to save the day, so to speak.
Yeah. In a normal transaction, that phone call is going out like, hey, this happened. I can't do this anymore. And everyone is, now left holding the bag. Right. And ultimately the seller is the one they're the ones that just want to sell their house. They just want to move on to their next endeavor. That they're going to continue to pay a mortgage and taxes on their home. So, the risk in real estate really lies on the seller's shoulder.
Yeah.
And all they want to do is sell their house and get the best value they can. Right. Cash2Keys allows them to do that. And that's why we're seeing success, because we're shifting the risk. The lender, the person who's writing the piece of paper to say this person's qualified, now has some skin in the game. Right. Because if we don't do what we say, or if the customer does something that's not congruent with making the deal happen, we're going to step in. Yeah. And it's happened, right? It's one thing to say it 2 years ago when we're just getting started and no one's ever heard of this before. Right. But we have enough test cases now to know for a fact that this happens.
Yeah.
And it works. And we've saved the day quite a bit.
And how often can you partner up with a lender and say, if something happens, they're going to help me out?
Exactly.
That's
As far
something
as
to
I
consider.
know, no one's doing our buy now, sell later where we're helping them transition with no home sale contingencies.
Okay.
There are some other lookalike programs similar to the cash offer where, for those people who don't have a home to sell, there's some guaranteed programs out there, but it's new. And I think the industry is changing. Every so often the market changes.
It does.
And how does it innovate? And ultimately it's in the best interest of the client, of the seller, of the real estate partners. Everybody's in a win-win situation here because we're making some things happen.
Right. That's wonderful. Yeah. So if you want me to come and take a look, evaluate your home, kind of see where we have some equity in there, we can partner up with Tom, with AnnieMac, and we can see how we can make that transition so much easier for you.
Yeah. Free consultation. You can go to our Cash website, check out what we're doing there. On the scroll across the bottom, you have all of our contact information. Feel free to shoot us a phone call, text.
Yeah.
Hit us up on Instagram, Facebook, wherever. We're here to help and answer these difficult questions in the changing market. And ultimately, we want you to win in real estate. That's the most important thing.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Yeah. So we've covered a lot here. We've gone through a couple different programs. Is there anything else, any other products that you guys offer that you want to go into a little bit?
Yeah, outside of the Cash2Keys, obviously we're still seeing a lot of the state grant programs.
Okay.
Right? So New Jersey offers some incredible grants for first-time home buyers who are looking to get some money to help out. Here in South Jersey, there's $10,000 available where you can use that money to help offset down payment and or settlement charges. You can use that money to help give appraisal guarantees.
Yep.
There's FHA, there's conventional. So there's a lot of great programs for first-time home buyers. We're starting to see a lot of stuff come in with the 203K renovation program. That was something that was really popular back in the mid-2000s. Kind of went away a little bit just due to the craziness in the market, but there are a lot of homes here in South Jersey that are older that need some TLC. And the cool thing about the 203K program is you're borrowing that money based on future value, right? So we're allowed to bring that future value forward and make all that money available. And you can do as little as 3.5% down. Okay. Which is awesome.
Which kind of makes sense in our market now because since the prices are going up, you're starting to see the conditions are kind of not on the side that you think they're going to be on. So you can use that renovation loan to just fix it up, brighten it up a bit, Yeah.
And the cool thing is most people doing renovation loans in almost any market I've seen since I've been doing them, which is almost 10 years now. They've maybe one time they didn't, but I'm going to say the majority of them, they get instant equity, which means the money that you're reinvesting in your home to make it exactly what you want, give it that cool HTT vibe. You're getting some excellent built-in instant equity, right? So it allows you to refinance, allows you to have more success down the road if you choose to sell it.
Right.
So those are just some of the neat products that are out there. There are hundreds of products. Okay. And you probably do a live feed every day for a month and not cover them all. But the ultimate important thing I always say is trust your realtors, right? They know best and they're going to listen and help. And then they're going to surround themselves with people like us, right? Trusted advisors who've been in the business for a long time that are local that really want to see people have success in real estate.
Yeah, and really take some time to think about that because you as a buyer or a seller need a great team behind you. So make sure you reach out.
Perfect.
So we covered a lot of info, but some of you still might have some questions or need some clarity on certain things. So drop a question in the chat if you have one now. We might already have some, so we'll go into some of those.
Excellent. So we do have a few questions, and one of those is going to be, can Cash2Keys be used when you're moving out of state?
That is a great question. And the answer is yes. There are some locations where we aren't licensed and we won't do the program. I don't have those memorized, but we're making referrals out of the state all the time. I had someone referred to California. I just had one to Texas. I have one going to South Carolina tomorrow. So we definitely are can do this out of state. Florida, so pretty much anywhere when you go. So if you're here and you're thinking about migrating to another state, but you're contingent on making that move, this is awesome because you can buy it wherever you're going to go, make that transition, and have your realtor left behind to make that sale happen for you.
Good. Okay. Yeah, Florida's a big one. A lot of people want to go to Florida now, so I'm glad you mentioned that one.
Yeah, there's some areas where we don't do it in Philadelphia County. It has to do with transfer tax. It's really, really expensive, but we do it in other areas of Pennsylvania. So it just depends on where you're going. And again, you call in and we can easily identify the location you're going to. We can marry up with a great loan officer that's in those locations. I'm licensed in New Jersey and Pennsylvania personally. My branch is licensed in several areas beyond that, Delaware, Maryland, Florida, but then we have key people all across the country.
Okay, great.
Okay. Do I need money down when I use Cash2Keys?
Good question.
Yep. So the only money that you're going to put down is a deposit. So we get you approved, you go to market, and you're now under contract. With buy now, sell later, that deposit is 3.5%.
Okay.
And that's going to get held at one of our preferred title companies. Dream Home Abstract, for example, is one that we use a lot. They're here in my office, worked with them for like 10 years. So what happens is that 3.5% gets broken into two different buckets. We have a 1% contract deposit. So there's contract number one, seller to Cash2Keys. And we also have contract number two, Cash2Keys to our buyer. That 1% deposit is on both. The remainder, 2.5%, is held as a retainer, right? That gets us going to market to become a cash buyer on your behalf. Now, under path number one with buy now, sell later, if you're able to get your house sold and be able to buy directly from the seller, we give you a full refund of that 2.5%. So that's your money. We don't make anything on that.
Good.
If Cash2Keys buys the house, we're going to retain 1%. And that's where that 1% fee came in. So we would give you a refund of 1.5%. It's a little cheaper on the cash offer. It's a 3% deposit versus 3.5%. But the same thing. Our goal and intent with cash offer is to have them close on the day of settlement, and they get a full refund of all of that money collected up front.
Okay.
And that money doesn't necessarily have to be in your own account. You can get gift funds from family for that. We've had people borrow from retirement accounts.
Okay.
And those are things that we're going to identify and review during the approval process.
Okay, good. So during that whole consultation, all that will be discussed.
Yep.
Good.
Okay. Here's a general question. If my wife is on my deed but not on my mortgage, can she get a first-time homebuyer grant?
If she's on the deed, she owns the home. And ownership is that. So we see that unfortunately quite a bit, where maybe one spouse bought the house before they got married. They got married, then they did a refinance. Well, in the state of New Jersey, that spouse, even though they didn't buy a house originally, is going to have to sign off on that deed to become a part owner. That by default makes them an owner. It's not the actual event of purchasing it; it's the event of owning something.
That was a good question too. All right. Thank you guys so much for asking your questions. This is going to stay on our feed though. So if you continue to have more questions, you have our number and our email, call or text, or drop it in the comments and one of us will respond. So don't hesitate to reach out. All right, guys.
Thanks for tuning in. This is a lot of fun, and we hope we get to see you on your next real estate transaction.
Yeah, looking forward to it. Take care, everybody. Have a good night.
All right, thanks.